Haristutihi Shloka 38. Murta murte purvam apohyatha samadhau drishyam sarvam neti cha netiti vihaya chaitanyamshe swatmani santam cha viduryam tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimide. Anvayarthaha Purvam Murta Amurta Murta Murte Apohya Atha Samadhau Sarvam Drishyam Na iti cha Vihaya Chaitanyamshe Swatmani Santam cha Yam Viduhu Tam Samsara Dhvanta Vinasham Harim Ide. Purvam means right in the beginning, very beginning. Murta Amurta, Murta Murte. Brahman is described as that which is visible and as those which are not visible. Here it refers to the 5 elements. We know that the earth, water and fire are elements which are visible, and air and space, these two are not visible. So all these together is first explained as Brahman, and then upon further enquiry and logical analysis, apohya, this same understanding is analyzed, and this is discarded. This kind of a perception about Brahman being Murta and Amurta, that is discarded. Apohya means this is discarded. Why? Because Shastra says Brahman does not have a particular form. So then, Atha, thereafter, Samadhau, the seers, they go into a state of mind in which the mind is completely focused upon the tattvam, the truth alone. That is the samadhi sthitihi. In that samadhi sthitihi, sarvam drishyam, they understand that all the objects of sense perceptions, one after the other, gradually they analyze, and then na iti, they discard that this is not the nature of Brahman, this is not Brahman, this is not Brahman iti. All the cognitions are discarded. And then iti cha vihaya, like this, negating every object perception as that which is not Brahman, chaitanyamshe, that which remains in the form of witness consciousness, awareing all that which has been negated. Where is that? Swatmani santam cha. It is very much within us as the indweller, always present. Like this, yam viduhu, that Paramatma who is understood, that is what has been told now can only be understood by the seers and yogis. It's not very easy. So, that Paramatma who is understood by the seers, tam samsara dhvanta vinasham harimede. Bhagavad Padacharya says, I worship that Paramatma, also known as Hari, the destroyer of ignorance which causes samsara. Now, in this verse, Bhagavad Padacharya has used words which are essentially the way in which Brihadaranyaka Upanishad explains Brahman. The words Murta and Amurta, that implies the Murta Murta Brahmanam, a section known as Murta Murta Brahmanam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The term Murta means Sthula Prapancha, the gross universe. The Jagat or this universe is the effect, Karyam, and Brahman is the cause. So initially, Brahman is described as both the Sthula Prapancha, the gross universe, and then Amurta means Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe which is not visible. And then this Murta Prapancha is described as Martyam, Sthitam, and Sat. Three characteristics. Martyam means it is perishable, and Sthitam means it is limited in nature. That means bound by time. And then it is Sat. Sat here means that which is visible for direct perception. So these are the three characteristics given for the Murta Prapancham. So the Murta Prapancham is represented by the three visible elements, the earth, water and fire. Then Amurta Prapancham is represented by two elements, Bhuta Dvayam, which are not visible, that is Akasha, space, and Vayu. These are the two elements which we cannot see but we can perceive, understand. So this Amurta Prapancha relative to the Murta Prapancha is imperishable because it is more long lasting, more limitless in its nature, and it is not visible. Because we know that Akasha and Vayu cannot be measured and it cannot be seen also. This our Sthula Sharira, physical body, belongs to the Murta Prapancham. It is easily perishable. But the subtle body within us, it belongs to Amurta Prapancham. And that will continue to survive in the subsequent bodies. This we can understand even from our general experience. Now, this Sukshma Shariram was there in the previous body also. This Sukshma Shariram will resolve only at the time of Pralayam. So then the Upanishad divides the Murta Prapancham and Amurta Prapancham at both the macro level and the micro level. That is, this whole Karya Prapancham, the effect. The Jagat is the effect, as I mentioned earlier. So this whole Karya Prapancham is mentioned in the mantra in the Upanishad as Dvevava Brahmano Rupe Murtam Chaiva Amurtam Cha. It means these are the twofold manifestations of Brahman, Murtam and Amurtam. Here the Karyam, effect, is what is called as manifestation of Brahman. So this Karya Prapancham is also referred to as Satyam, which means Sat cha Tyat cha. See, this word Satyam is split as Sat cha Tyat cha. In this, Sat represents earth, water and fire, which is the visible Murta Prapancham. And Tyat means air and space. It represents the Amurta Prapancham, that which is not visible. After explaining the Karya Prapancham in this manner, it sounds like Brahman is limited in nature. So to clarify this, Upanishad goes on to define Brahman as that which is the absolute reality. Now, anything can be defined by words only if it fulfills some conditions for verbal description. That is, what one wants to define by words it should be a dravyam, some matter. It should be some matter which is available for sensory perception. Like even the elements, so the panchabhutas, space, air, fire, water, etc. Each of them has a name and we are able to perceive it with that name. So then using those names, words can describe it further. But Brahman is not available as a matter, as a dravyam. Then further, something should have some attribute, a guna, like a color or size. Then words can be used to describe that. Now, Brahman does not fall in this category also. Or, for something to be defined, it should have some movement or function, kriya. Like when we say cooler, heater, driver, etc., the function of heating can be explained. Now, Brahman is not even available like this. Or the object to be described by words must have a jati. It should belong to some species. Now, Brahman is not, particular species also. Or the other condition is the object should have some kind of a sambandha, relationship, like parent-child relationship, etc. So now, Shruti herself says, absolute Brahman cannot be revealed by any word, Shabda, because it does not fulfill any of these 5 conditions. Dravya, Guna, Kriya, Jati, Sambandha. It doesn't come under any of these categories. Therefore, words cannot perfectly describe Brahman. But then, all the Upanishads are in the form of words and they are trying to talk about Brahman, which means there must be a method employed so that the words can reveal what is Brahman. Now, the words are employed in 2 methods, which is known as Vidhimukha Pramanam and Nishedhamukha Pramanam. Vidhi means positive definition and Nishedha is negative way of defining. Both these methods are used by the Upanishads to establish Brahman. After having explained the Karya Prapancham as 2 manifestations of Brahman, then Upanishad negates both Murta Prapancham and Amurta Prapancham. Athata adesho neti neti nahi etasmad iti. So to reveal that which cannot be revealed, which is Brahman, Nishedha Mukha Pramanam is used. Both Murta Prapancham and Amurta Prapancham is not the absolute reality. Everything we experience will actually come under either Murta Prapancham or Amurta Prapancham, including our own body. Like I mentioned earlier, the physical body is Murta and the mind, the thoughts, that is the Amurta Prapancha. All these are negated. So then, does it mean that there is no Brahman at all? Is Brahman non-existent? Will be a question that arises. So the answer will be no. Because you are continuously experiencing it. There is some Shakti within you which is making even all this Murta Prapancha and Amurta Prapancha known to you. That means Murta Prapancham and Amurta Prapancham must be mithya, unreal. Unreal, in other words, as though real. So, negation, the process of nishedha, negation, reveals the unreality of both Murta Prapancha and Amurta Prapancha. So, then what is real? If everything experienced is unreal, then what remains? What has been pointing out to all this unreality? And that which remains is reality itself. It has to be the consciousness itself. So, what is left behind iti when one thinks and comes to this part of the discussion, then here the Upanishad falls silent because there are no words which can allow us to perfectly define. The one who is causing all this to be defined cannot be defined by words or anything. So, the only thing which is left behind is the consciousness principle, which itself can never be experienced. But that consciousness principle is always the experiencer. It cannot be itself experienced, but itself is the experiencer, lending consciousness to everything else. So, the mind comes to rest in the wake of this knowledge. So, in the verse, the word samadhau means samadhiyate chittam asmin iti samadhihi. So, that state of being in which the thought or in the knowledge of which the mind comes to rest when it is totally internally absorbed, and in which mind only the truth remains. In such a mind, this is the samadhi sthiti. In such a mind, the Brahman which obtains is Vishnu, and that Vishnu is praised in this verse as Chaitanyamshe. Chaitanyameva amsha iva amshaha. That Vishnu is the consciousness principle, as though a part of consciousness. And it is that which is the knower, self-revealing knower. How so? Jada amsha parityagena avashishyamanam chinmatram. By a process of continuously understanding what is this world that is being experienced and then negating it as that which is inert. Why? Because this world is drawing its own existence from something else. So, in the form of consciousness principle, that which remains after negating the Murta Amurta Prapancha, what remains? Atha, thereafter, Drishyam Sarvam Neti Neti Iticha Vihaya. So, having negated all the objects which are seen and perceived by the senses, Santam, the only one which remains, that is the consciousness principle, and that is Paramatma iti yam viduhu, the one who is known thus. That Brahman, that Paramatma, Tam, who is the destroyer of the darkness of ignorance, and that ignorance being the cause of samsara. So, samsara dhvanta vinasham. That Paramatma, also known as Hari. Tam Harim Ide, I praise and worship. Iti beautifully Bhagavad Padacharyaha offers this stotram, which is the content of one section in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So, मूर्तामूर्ते पूर्वमपोह्याथ समाधौ दृश्यं सर्वं नेति च नेतीति विहाय चैतन्यांशे स्वात्मनि सन्तं च विदुर्यं तं संसारध्वान्तविनाशं हरिमीडे. नमस्ते.